Hi, this is Emily Leiphart of Art from the Heart, and this is a video promo for the True Stamp 2014 event. All three of my design team companies, Mama Elephant, Paper Smooches, and Simon Says Stamp, are participating, so I decided to create a card combining products from each of these three companies. I'll be using Mama Elephant's True Friend stamp set for stamping the sentiments. For die cutting, I'll be using Paper Smooches' new Quotables dies as well as the Flowers dies. The Quotables dies is a set of 5 dies that cut across the length of a card. 4 of them come with speech bubble directors, and those are a lot of fun, but I'll be using the plain curve on my card. In the future, I'll be sharing more about these Quotables dies. The flower dies are considered standalone dies, but they do work with the calico stamp set if you want to try that. For the Simon Says Stamp portion of my card, I'll be using all 5 of the cardstock colors that were part of their spring release. From left to right, these colors are Cotton Candy, Dull Pink, Mint, Surf Blue, and Augie Blue. To create my card, I'm starting with a white card base. For the background, I'm using a piece of Surf Blue cardstock, and I'm going to cut 2 curved panels for the top and bottom of the card using the Quotables die. I'm using the grid lines on my cutting mat to create 2 equal portions. I use washi tape to hold the die in place and run it through my Big Shot machine. Now I have the 2 panels that I'll adhere with foam tape when the time comes. Next, I'm taking the flowers dies and die cutting all the pieces from the other 4 cardstock colors, Mint for the greenery, and Cotton Candy, Dull Pink, and Augie Blue for the flowers. This part takes a while, but it's really therapeutic and it's really fun to see all these pretty pieces laid out. Now I can assemble some flowers using any combination of the die cuts. This is the best part about using dies like this. The possibilities are endless. As you can see, I spent quite a bit of time mixing and matching the various layers, just playing around to see which combination I like better. After die cutting all these layers, you could easily mass produce a bunch of cards in this style. Once I'm satisfied with the combination of colors and layers, I can adhere each of the parts together, and I do this with glue dots. You could use liquid adhesive if you wanted, but I like the ease of using glue dots. This also gives the layers a teeny tiny bit of dimension, which is always nice. The nice thing about using glue dots is that there's always a bit of give so that the pieces can be adjusted later if necessary. Background panels were moving around a bit too much and driving me crazy, so I adhered them to the card with some temporary adhesive. This will help me arrange the flowers too. Here I'm trying out the stem with one of the flowers to see if I want to use that in my arrangement. It gives me some ideas for future cards, but I'm going to leave it out of this design. In the end, I go back to my original layout. Now I'm going to choose my stance from True Friend. The first part of the sentiment will say, "I appreciate you," and the second part says, "more than you'll ever know." Initially, I want to stamp the words on the white base, like it's coming out from a megaphone along those curves, but then I decide that I want to stamp it on the edges of the blue panels since they'll be popped up with foam tape. When stamping on a curve that follows the line of a border die, one trick that I use is to use the die itself to help line up the stamp. I always hover it above before inking it and stamping, just to make sure it's exactly the way I want it. After the first line is stamped, I move on to the second line, using the die in the exact same way. Once the stamping is done, I can add foam tape to the panels and start assembling my card. As I mentioned earlier, glue dots are great if you need to make any adjustments in position, and I did move the leaves on the blue flower. If I had used liquid adhesive that dried, it would have torn the cardstock and I would have had to remake the flower entirely. Since I didn't do my stamping in the white space, I want to add some smaller flowers to look like petals blowing across in the wind. This adds movement to the card and helps carry the eye across from the flowers to the sentiments. Some of you asked following a previous video for more tips about card design. This particular design uses the rule of thirds, meaning that my card is divided into thirds. In this case, I've kept all my design elements in the middle third of the card. When all the flowers are adhered, I decide to add some pearl embellishments. During this time, my son has just arrived back home, comes to see what I'm doing, and tells me that I need a pearl in the big flower. It made me laugh that he noticed and pointed that out.
Can't you use a big, huge one here?
I went looking for bigger pearls and didn't have any, so I decided to group a bunch of smaller ones on that big flower. Now my card is done. True Stamp takes place on April 5th, 2014. I'm giving away a spot in a class, which is a $97 value. If you use the code LOVE to purchase a class for half off before March 18th, and you happen to win, you will be reimbursed. Please refer to the supply links below if you're interested in any of the products I used in this video. You can also visit my blog for stills and more information about my card and the rules for entering my True Stamp giveaway. Thanks so much for watching.